Hey guys, welcome back to Gyros Technology Solutions. So today I'm going to do a non-technical video. I enjoy doing technical videos and getting straight to the point, as y'all have seen in most of my videos. But today I want to talk about something else. I want to talk about cybersecurity for small business. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because our target market is small business, and unfortunately, more often than not, I am seeing where you walk into a small business and they have something that's missing. And so I'm saying something is missing now because in the next slide we're going to go into more detail. But long story short is that you walk into this business and they're not doing things that you as a cybersecurity professional, you as a IT professional, they're not doing things that they should be doing to protect their business. So let's jump right into it, and I'm going to start talking about that. So, key points. I'm going to jump straight into this and not hide bullet points, right? So with key points, one of the very first things I always notice when I walk into a business is that they probably have like Windows Server 2012. And let's be real. So Windows Server 2012 doesn't go EOL or end of life until next year, right? So not necessarily a bad thing, but if you do have Windows Server 2012 and you're not even thinking about going to Server 2019 or Server 2022, that's something that you definitely want to start thinking about if you're managing a small business's network and systems. And that's not just servers, that's also network devices. That's also, are they using an out-of-date modem, or are they using an out-of-date router? Personally, I think any business should be using a firewall, because if you know how to manage a firewall, then you have more granularity. You can see what exactly is trying to hit a firewall, or what's going on, and where things are coming from and trying to hit your firewall, and what things are trying to go out that's already on your network. Because if you have somebody's like a personal cell phone that's on the Wi-Fi, and they downloaded some kind of app off the App Store, and that's a whole nother conversation. But they could download an app off the App Store, whether it be Apple or Google Play's App Store, and that app could be malicious, and now that app is trying to call back home to wherever it's trying to call home to. And so it's important from a security perspective to mind the things they're trying to get in, and also mind the things they're trying to get out. And then also and also with the network equipment, you want to make sure that all your APs or your access points stay up to date. You want to make sure your network, your switches stay up to date, all that good stuff. And I know this seems a little rudimentary, if you will, but it's important, especially from making a security perspective, to make sure all your devices stay up to date, and any out-of-date software is removed, or any software or services that are not being used, or whatever that's removed off your devices, because those can be potential attack vectors. And then moving on to passwords or pins or not, right? So Microsoft said, hey, you know what? You don't have to use a password anymore, so you can just use your face or your fingerprint or some form of biometric. I'm personally not a fan of that. The philosophy I always go with is, if it has an input capability and output capability, meaning if you can type something into it or have some form of input to that device and it gives you an output, and then on top of that, if it's connected to the internet, then it's hackable. That's just the reality. In its most basic form, anything with input, output, and connected to the internet is hackable. So I personally stick with passwords. I stick with long passwords. I use a password manager. A lot of people don't even know what a password manager is. And so, I say, hey, go check out LastPass, go check out KeyPass, go check out Bitwarden, go check out, whatever password manager out there. And then I think, I'm not overly familiar Mac guy, but I think it's Apple Keychain. Some people use Apple Keychain so that it syncs your devices. That's a whole nother conversation. Syncing all your devices together, that's a whole nother conversation. But yes, it's that's not very secure either, even though Apple claims to be unhackable. But anyway, so with passwords, I always do the password manager. I always generate a password that's at least 15 characters long, with symbols and numbers and lowercase and uppercase letters. So all that basic stuff. And then pins. I would have at least a 6-digit pin. In my opinion, pins aren't as secure as complex passwords. But hey, that's just me. And then also with accounts, account separation and permissions. So if everybody has an account that has administrator privileges, then that is wrong. the person that's doing a job role. So like, let's say you have an accountant that's on your team, and they're your own internal accountant that you hired. Well, that accountant doesn't need access to every little detail of the business. They need access to maybe the financials or whatever more accountants do. I'm not an accountant, so I'm not going to claim to know all that stuff. But they only need access to certain things. If you have a user that a technician that goes out to do field jobs, then he doesn't need the access to that accountant's information. He doesn't need it. He goes and does the work, and then that's all he needs to do. He doesn't need to worry about the invoicing. That's the accountant's job, right? So just keep all those roles separated, keep the permissions separated, and all that good stuff. And then the internet exposure. So it still is a thing. A lot of small businesses still have those old Comcast modems or Atlantic Broadband modems or whoever their ISP is. And a lot of times those modems are opened up. So like with the security system, so people want those security camera systems, the old school ones, or I wouldn't say old school necessarily, but just the older ones. And those systems open up ports on your firewall. I've seen it happen. They open them up so that you can remotely access your cameras. Absolutely terrible idea. You shouldn't have. I'm a stickler for security, of course, and so. I'm a huge not a fan of having open ports on your firewall. Yes, sometimes it's necessary, but if it is necessary to have open ports on your firewall or your router, then they need to be secured. So is that port requiring authentication? Is it requiring some kind of certificate? What is required to be able to go through that port? It shouldn't just be willy-nilly, haha, I got into the network now, so now I can do whatever I want and start hacking stuff. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents on that. And also too, and I'll get into the tools in a second, but it's just making sure that I can't just start grabbing snapshots of your external device. Endpoint protection. So endpoint protection, it's more or less your first and your last line of defense. You would hope that if it didn't catch it the first time, it would catch it the second time, or even there might even be a third time. Hopefully not, but there might be. But the endpoint protection, so that's your AV, that's your antivirus. You might have a built-in firewall. You might have some other form of advanced anti-exploit type deal to where if a file gets on your computer, then the advanced anti-exploit will keep that malware from running and doing its thing. We don't want that to happen, right? So, and even if it doesn't, it might not catch it when it first gets downloaded. It might catch it whenever it does a scheduled scan or something like that. So endpoint protection is extremely important, and there's all kinds out there. There's Sentinel, there's Carbon Black. Those are some of the higher end names. There's Bitdefender, there's Malwarebytes, there's Avast, there's AVG. I would steer clear of free antivirus. I just don't think that it's a good idea to have something for free. You would hope it's doing its job, but possibly not. And I'll be doing another video on those different kinds of malware and how fast they catch a piece of malware that I put on them. So just keep in mind that you want to have that basic endpoint protection for all your computers. And it doesn't help if you have one computer on the network that doesn't have a network. I have a client that they had one PC on their network that didn't have a password. And this is before I put a firewall in. So somebody was able to get in to their network and pivot off of that box that didn't have a password on it. It would blow your mind as to how easily things can go bad if you don't have certain things in place. And that's our goal. That's our goal as a small business ourselves, is to reach out to other small businesses and say, hey, these are the holes. We need to plug them. But anyway, so moving on from that, so the tools. So you have Shodan, which is basically a search engine that will find internet-facing devices and basically show you all the ports that are open on those devices. I've done a few searches in our geographic area, and port 21, port 81, port 80, port 21, port 23, 8080, 8443. All those ports are bad. You don't. Again, I know I'm kind of ranting about the ports, but that's just a huge thing with me, because I've unfortunately had other vendors say, hey, I need all these ports open. Well, you have to be that security guy and ask why. Why do you need those ports open? You don't, in my opinion, again, you don't need Telnet open. You don't need FTP open. You just don't. You need to establish a tunnel of some sort, or you need to do a client to gateway VPN. You need to have some kind of VPN going on, because that will at least encrypt your traffic so people on the open internet can't view it, can't read it, right? And then anyway, so that's Shodan. And then there's other videos out there on Shodan that you can watch to learn more about it. I'm not going to get into it here. And the same thing with the Have I Been Pwned. So that sounds kind of funny as a funny name. But Have I Been Pwned, essentially you go to that website and you can plug in your email, and Have I Been Pwned will reach out and say, okay, your email has been breached through a third-party database. So if you go and sign up for God forbid Ashley Madison, you know that story. I'll post a link in the description. But the Ashley Madison breach, the Yahoo breach, and then there's several other breaches. But basically, if you use your email, your business email, for that reason, you shouldn't. Yeah, I meant to say personal email, but if you use your personal email, you can go out there and look. Same for your business email, and you shouldn't be using your business email for anything other than business. And that's just straight up how it should be. But anyway, guys, thank y'all for watching the video. I know this was a little ranty, but these are the key points. So we have to have a security baseline for all of our businesses. Everybody should be to a certain point where it says, hey, we are changing out our passwords, we are keeping our software up to date. We have the account separation so that the technician out in the field can't just access financial information, because what if somebody gets his credentials because he didn't put a good enough password in, and all of a sudden now he can get to the finances, or the bad guy that gets his account can get to the finances for that business, or steal it, or ransomware attack it, or whatever. But anyway, guys, thank y'all. If you like the video, please like it, share it, comment below, let me know what you think. If you have any questions, I'm here. But anyway, guys, thank y'all. Have a good one.